I know it. Afternoon. Okay, are we on Wednesday? We are.
Yes.
We're on Wednesday. Hump day.
Good
You
afternoon,
got it.
Commissioner.
Yeah, hump day at school. I used to have yeah. Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I know we have a budget schedules for later. Mike Moss, Public Services Director, but we do like to go through 5 items before we move over to the budgets if possible.
Sure.
Transfer station update. We've been working on the wait times at the transfer station for quite a while with the waste control. A few of us have got phone calls over the last 6 months of the wait times there, sometimes up to 3.5 hours for a commercial trailer to actually get through the transfer station. We think we overcame a large hurdle there this last week. Waste Control expanded their floor space in that area near the conveyor belt. They've actually ended up taking a wall out and have almost doubled the space in the floor. So
Really?
their packer trucks would go on the north end and the commercial trailers and dump trucks go on the south end. And the wait times drastically dropped over the weekend, including Sunday, there was some issues with conveyor belt, but Monday it was down to about 17 minutes. They said for trailer traffic. As a staff, we want to make sure that was true. So we were there the last 2 mornings to watch. And the longest I saw yesterday is like 23 minutes. This morning, there was no trailers in line when I arrived. And the ones that did show up after a while went directly through with no issues at all. And the packer trucks, which they used to share the space with, they were like 7, 8, 9 deep on the north end. So there was no confusion at all. It's packer trucks on this end, commercial trailers on that end, and they were flowing through really quickly. So I did make a few phone calls to the people who've called us with complaints, which I agree with, and asked them for their feedback, and I have not heard back from them yet, but I'll make sure I keep you up to speed.
Trying to picture, you drive in there, what wall did they take?
Where they used to put the green waste.
The very first one.
Yep.
They took that wall out.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's really something that's pretty easy. Maybe it should have been done earlier, but here we are. We also
I kept looking at it. You know how you go in and the wall on, I guess it'd be on the east side.
Correct.
Even if they could expand that out, give them a little more
towards the river side.
Yeah, toward the river, to the river. But
yeah,
if that wall does it, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we get Sean gets the times daily or weekly from them, so we'll monitor the times, but we'll also do spot checks like we've done the last 2 days to continue that. And I'm sure we'll also hear from the citizens if it goes back to the way it was before. We still want to make it better. So there's a few things we're trying to do with Public Works on the north end of the county, the Tootle transfer or the Tootle drop box. We'd like to have residential trailers. They're not allowed at that drop box, but we're going to make it so they're allowed to put the residential trailers at Tootle, which will create less traffic also at the transfer station. When the boxes are full at the Tootle drop box, they're required to bring those boxes for like their 30 or 40-yard boxes down to the transfer station before they go to the landfill. Well, Tootle's pretty close to the landfill, so we're going to let them do a direct haul from the Tootle drop box to the landfill, which will help reduce traffic there. And also the packer trucks, are what comes to your house and picks up your garbage can. The ones in North County, we're going to let them go directly to the landfill, which will also help traffic down here. So we'll try to help them out from our side, but also with that wall being removed, it really drastically helped the times on their side. So between these improvements, we're hoping that the complaints will go away. If they come back up, we'll go to Plan B.
So I usually hook up my trailer when I do a dump run and then stack everything in, so I'd be able to go to Tootle now?
Yeah, correct. There's no commercial traffic at Tootle, so as long as it's a residential, they're allowed to dump there with a trailer. Yeah. We're going to start that this Saturday.
I guess I've been under the impression that the landfill traffic itself is pretty backed up. Is that not going to cause a problem for the packer trucks?
They go to a different spot. So the packer trucks will have their own little road. That's called a ground truck road, which are by the lifts. So we are backed up usually first thing on the mornings. You're correct. There might be a couple hour wait at the landfill because we usually have 25 to 30 trucks show up at once for 3 tippers. So those trucks do have to wait, but the packer trucks just push it out the back side. So they don't get on those lifts. So they have a road to the side into the face that they'll be able to dump on directly. We talked to our staff up there. They're excited to have a few packer trucks directly haul in because in the mornings we get a lot of mail waste in and they like the MSW mixed in with it. So they're happy to have a few trucks that come directly off the routes to drop up there.
Okay,
So,
hopefully it works.
yeah, we'll cross our fingers, but the first 3 days were very, very happy with the changes they made down there. Like I said, we'll continue to monitor it.
Good.
We'll give you a
Well-
report in the next couple of weeks to see if it continues.
Where will people pay if they go straight to Tootle?
It had to be an account only. It's for,
Okay.
yeah. So actually the Tootle drop box is cash by Drew's, but when they go to the landfill, it's set up by account only. So, and it's for the 53-foot trailers. So it's, our Lewis County Waste, Pacific County, Arc Waste, Mason County, those companies or those counties come to our facility. So we still aren't taking residential garbage to the landfill. It just goes to the Tootle drop box. So that's a cash
To
only.
the Tootle drop box and I just pay at Drew's.
They pay at that.
But
There's two
by
waste
Drew's.
control employees at the Tootle drop box that takes the money there.
But it's per load. It's not, they're not weighing them.
They are not, no scales there. It's by load, by garbage can or by load. Mhm.
So, and for the landfill, are the Packer trucks gonna go across the scales?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like good progress.
Yeah, it does. We thought we made a good headway early this year. We jinxed ourselves. Here we are.
It's, yeah, well, at least, I appreciate you keep working on it.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Keep looking.
Yeah,
Very much.
we'll keep you updated. Thanks.
Okay, Savannah Clement, Public Services. I just wanted to give my weekly Hall of Justice update. We are officially in construction in the building now. So today was day one of actually being in the basement and starting construction, and DEM has moved, so they're our first move. And that went pretty well from what I understand. I got an update this morning. Our next big moves will be next week. One of our largest departments, which is the clerk's office, just to refresh the board and the community, they'll be actually moved out for the duration of the project. So they won't be moving back into their space until May or earlier of next year. So that's actually happening next week as well. And our Superior Court admin staff, they'll be moving down to the first floor. So all of that happens next week. So it was a nice test run this week to try to encounter maybe any potential issues, maybe some planning things that we could do differently. And so we actually met with the courts this morning for our normal meeting and kind of passed off some of that communication and lessons learned to them so that they can be prepared for their move next week. So big things happening. One thing that was not planned for, that we will plan for probably around the holidays, is our emergency panel shut off. And so that emergency panel, just so you guys are aware, it powers 911, records, sheriff, so our 24-hour emergency divisions. And we actually need to do a new install of a transfer switch. So we're going to plan for that in the future. There'll be a lot of communications on it. And like I said, I think we anticipate that being in December when it's a little bit quieter, maybe more shutdown days to do that. But it will only be power off to our emergency generator powered items. So.
Savannah, real
Yeah.
quick on that topic, has IT communicated with you with regards to our ability to communicate emergencies to our employees?
Yes. Did reach out to Mike Bamford, stopped me after the kickoff meeting, and then reached out to him via email to coordinate. Mike was on that call. We've got him in connection with our representative from Alertus to get the ball rolling and understanding what system we have over there. We use it at Public Works and we maintain it as far as doing the quarterly testing. I want to say demonstration. Their quarterly testing on that and the messaging system. So we had a little bit of knowledge, but as far as the, on how to implement it and keep it updated, it's definitely, more of the IT realm. So we got them in touch with our rep there. So I'm hoping that's moving forward. That was just yesterday. So we're going to get something going there so that we have that ability. So yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Has-
Go ahead.
Has there been any discussion about getting the snack bar on backup power? so that
Yes.
It doesn't split when
Yeah.
food power goes out.
Lesson learned there. Interestingly enough, the cafe is powered off of the same panel that our third floor jail, one of our ductless heating cooling units. which is very strange when you're saying a first floor run to a third floor run, and it wasn't labeled, so we weren't unaware that the cafe was going to go offline. Kelly also brought that up in we have a lot of meetings, in our meeting yesterday with Millig to make sure that that does not happen moving forward. And Jason is also now aware, so we know. One of our, sub projects to this project as a staff is to make sure that we have identified and tracked and marked our power sources, because that is not a thing right now, and we're feeling that. So that will also happen too, so we can avoid that moving forward. Along the same lines, we're still working out hotel planning. Our next big department is the sheriff's office and the prosecuting attorney's office. Meeting with them. I have a walkthrough with Kelly and facility staff with PA's office for the annex building tomorrow. So with that, annex, I think it's a desirable empty building that's been recently updated. And so we do have a lot of department interest, and we've already started having requests made for use of that space. And I wanted to just explain to the board my intent of copying you guys on the email with noxious weeds was just to make sure it's the first time we've had a request under this new policy. And I know there's been a lot of conversation of making sure that we are presenting the board with policy and procedure so you guys are aware. And so that was my intent in copying you, so that everybody knew and was on the same page of how that's supposed to work. Unfortunately for noxious weeds, they're like the first one to do it. And so we're just kind of offline, talked to Jennifer yesterday again, and we went over the procedure. I think we'll probably, after it goes to the committee, come back to the board and talk it out about their wanting to go back to that space on that first floor. So more to come on that.
And is that during the hoteling or after the project?
They would like to have it, yesterday. I did explain, I said we've been trying to keep people at bay. We don't have a preference, who's there as far as a facility standpoint goes. But we've been trying to keep people, and telling them nobody can move in until we're done with this project, because it is a really great space on network, has its own offices, is secure, has a lobby. We don't have another space like that that's vacant. And so we've been really pushing people off. And I know that Jennifer's and Noxious Weed Board, they have a window of time, right? Their growing season, they're preparing for that. And so they would really like to get in there, I think, before or in February, but we may need that space beyond that. And so that's where we're at, kind of in the middle of saying, no, you have a right to do this process. Here's the forms, here's how you do it. But please know, we have to pause on it. At least I'm saying to everybody, June of 26. So just so that you guys are aware, after that, it's totally up to the board. So.
And long-term, we don't know the best use of that facility, if it's another department taking over the entire facility, or if we're going to, if no one goes there, do we lease it out to an outside organization or company where they take over? It's easier for us to rent out a full floor than half floors. So we have to keep that in mind down the road also.
I think we have some actual viable options and choices with regards to departments that we have in other buildings that we could move into a building that we own, maybe sell another building. So there's definitely options for us, I think, that look good.
I'll just roll, unless you guys have any other questions about the Millig Hall of Justice project. Okay. I had started talking to the board a year ago now about a grant opportunity for the HVAC project, specific to our audit of the building, which was our energy audit that we first started that Millig project off with. We started off with this audit, which we had to pay for. But because the audit included a lot of energy efficiencies and looking at use and square footage, it also qualified for the Clean Buildings Performance Act or statute that the state put in place a couple years ago. So anyway, we just got word last week that we were approved for that grant. So that'll be $98,000 that the county was approved for to help pay for that. So it's a lot of money that we're paying for this project, but at least, we do have some grant funding that's coming through that will help on the revenue side. So just sharing that. That'll come through the board probably in the next week or two on a Tuesday.
Meeting schedule. So as you know, we meet every Wednesday at 1:30, and there's been talk about possibly moving the day. So we want to talk about an open session here. And if you want to see us every Wednesday, or if you want to see us every other Wednesday, or if it's every other Tuesday at 1:30, it's been talked about. And have other departments take that time slot if we go every other week, or if you want to meet us maybe one-on-one with more detail on specific job or projects, or just keep this status quo. When Kelly brought up that we possibly could be moving from a Wednesday to a Tuesday, we thought that might be the right time to talk to you. If what we're doing is correct, if this is what you want to see from us, or if you're seeing us too much, you want to see us every other week, gotta leave that up to discussion.
I'm open to anything, but I think that if you guys are already gonna be here for certain issues on Tuesday for efficiency and you guys not making trips multiple times a week, you're already here on Tuesday, I'm good with doing it on Tuesday. The frequency of that, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
In talking to Kelly, I don't think we'd make any kind of change until after the first of the year anyway. So we have time to kind of see how it's working out, just putting it on your radar, not radar, but radar.
Most weeks we have agenda items, but certain weeks, depending on our schedules and what's going on in the office, we hate calling it a last minute also and say, hey, Kelly, we have only one agenda item. We don't want to waste your time, especially when you guys don't have a 2:30 behind us. And plus you're staying a whole nother day here. So maybe Tuesday makes the most sense. You guys for sure are in the office already on Tuesdays in case you have other obligations on a Wednesday. So just put that in your mind. We can talk more because it's like Savannah said, it's the first quarter of next year.
Yeah. I was just trying to think how many times you cancel, and it's really not that many times.
it's
I think I just
Two, maybe?
keep it weekly, and when you have those days, just cancel them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, we just don't want to disappoint you if we cancel last minute or anything. So.
We also know that there's not any other public workshop other than ours and the one to follow. So a lot of departments, and it's fine. Sheriff's office, if they need to jump on, maybe there's a week that it's an open week and we're not on for presentation, but maybe another department would like that. I don't know. So.
Yeah, if we know ahead of time that we're pretty light that week, we could reach out to other departments and see if they have any items they want to bring at that 1:30 workshop. Okay, great. Thank you.
Facade update. I did send the board out an email. It was a really informal assessment with a better one to follow, but I just wanted to bring that up today to see if you guys had any questions after reviewing that.
Well, even the informal one didn't look good.
No,
I don't even want to see the formal one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Should have a lot of dollar signs attached. to
I
this.
looked at it and I just started going, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah. It's another kind of, not example, but, we're dealing with maybe some poor construction decisions that were made in the caulking and the way they installed those windows, and maybe it was the cheaper route or whatever, but, some lessons moving forward from a facilities staff and how these projects are managed and making sure that those things are checked and hashed out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if a piece of that fell and hit somebody, I don't want to be in the Darwin pages.
No. No. So we will be leaving that scaffolding up. Obviously, we're going to follow all their recommendations. And so that, it's not pretty, but it is more safe. So it will be staying up through
Begs
winter.
the question that, again, if they could, and I know we're a historical building, if they could use like a lighter, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Lighter
like a
product,
product, yeah.
give it the same look or something instead of having cement fall.
If you cut the weight by 90% and it fell, it's still gonna do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Well, it's still gonna, it's still,
If it hits somebody, it's,
Is there any money like through historical societies or anything like that? for
Yes.
restoration of this?
There are grant funds available. We have actually looked at other grant funding through the Washington State Historical Courts. I mean, it's something along those lines. I might be butchering that. Courthouse.
because
Yeah,
we're in an
okay.
old courthouse.
Yes, and so that's actually our funding, grant funding mechanism if we were to pursue that, but we have to have this, the scope of work has to come and then we will pursue that, most likely.
Fun.
Always. And that's all I had on the facade unless.
well, recognizing that the building's 100 years old
Mhm.
and those things have stayed up there for 100 years, I guess
Yeah.
it'd be nice if we find it quick and easy to maintain them or keep them there, but yeah.
Look at it that way, that's not bad, really. 100 years
100
worth
years
of
later.
use. Yeah.
Well, enacting more of a preservation mindset as opposed to a reactionary when things are breaking. And so that's something, we talked about that before. I think Commissioner Farrell brought that up about what are we going to be doing moving forward in assessing those buildings? And I don't think I realized, because this is one of the only buildings with that type of facade that I know of. We have some older ones in Commerce, but anyway, I was in Seattle over the weekend and they had almost the identical facade design and it looks so much better. But like, I don't realize it because you don't have anything to compare it to. And I was like, okay, I think that's what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, kind of a wake up call too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any miscellaneous items, we'll take those now. If not, we'll turn it over to Sean Rowe, Finance Manager for the motor pool budget.
You got lots of papers.
Afternoon, Commissioner Sean Roy, Public Works here. Today, we're here to talk about the motor pool, specifically its allocations. And then it does have a small replacement request and a pretty simple budget associated with it. So we thought we'd just hammer that all out today with you. The first one want to talk about is the sheriff motor pool allocation. The sheriff is a little bit different than the rest of ours, as we originally were doing it as a straight line depreciation through 2020. At that point in time, due to some of the budget spikes we saw, we went to an alternative method to smooth the budget out. Some examples of that, in 2016, it was 855,000. 2017 was 126,000. 2018 was 2.1 million. 2019 was 2.7 million. And then 2020, we were down to 1.6. So there's large fluctuations. So we came up with an alternative method, and that was to do fixed values for different types of vehicles. So for example, we have 47 active sheriff vehicles and then 6 spares. Of that, for the fixed fee, we do a $21,000 replacement that does full replacement of the vehicle over a 5-year period. And then we do a $5,000 maintenance repair annually as well. So the total cost on a per vehicle basis is $26,000. Now for the spares, there's no replacement, it's just the maintenance fees. So after we have funded all of our replacement costs, we may hold a vehicle extra years. And then those extra dollars, we will fund our boats. We have 3 boats, 3 trailers associated with those. We have our admin vehicles. We have some armor vehicles, command posts and some small trailers, things like that. No longer have radios to talk about, so those have been moved off into the sheriff's own fund there. And so that's how we go through that one. Now, the replacement cost is adjusted every time we do upfits. We re-annualize that. So this year we came earlier, talked about the sheriff vehicles. We estimated those would be about $105,000 per vehicle to be a purchase and upfit of those. And then the maintenance, we look back at a 3 to 5 year average, depending on what type of vehicles we're looking at. So that's kind of a short spiel on that one. I feel like we should have some questions on those though.
If, once we meet that reserve and we're funding the boats and the trailers and that's all taken care of, is there any money that we're no longer spending on that stuff? Because trailers don't need much maintenance, as you go through there. Is there any money that's left over? And if so, what do we do with that?
Yeah, so we haven't ran into that yet. Our vehicle replacements do range from 3 years to 8 years. Sometimes we have what I like to call an unexpected early replacement on those. We haven't had many of recently. Our accident funds have been smaller this year. We've only had, I think, 3 collisions of any value. Some of the other unanticipated items we've had were in regard to the Tahoes themselves. The rear ends were susceptible to some structural damage that we had to repair. We had to get some custom skid plates installed on all of those model year Tahoes and newer model years to kind of offset that risk and liability around those. If we were ever to the spot where we're fully funded on everything, we'd come back to the board and say, hey, we don't want the money. This is an annual review. We do this with the sheriff every year. We go through a whole list, talk about the vehicles, their mileage, their uses, what we have expectations on that. And at that point, the sheriff will come sit with us and we'll talk to the board on those items.
Are we self-insured for these vehicles, or do we have an insurance policy?
No, they're self-insured. And that's why I was bringing up the accidents and things like that. So we're having to fund those. We set aside just a small, what I consider a small budget of, I think, $105,000 in general fund that we transfer over to help with repairs, annual repairs or replacements.
I don't want to put any sheriff on the spot, but we have seen a reduction in collisions as of lately.
Can you give us any one name?
No, they know I was having a good time
But
with
I
them.
know Sheriff Brad's driving record. You had Kathy, you provided another sheet and it was like a Excel spreadsheet and it had budget numbers. And I don't know if, I was assuming this was associated to this, like in 24 million, 723, 25 million, 607, anticipated 1,819. Is that number derived through this formula? Am I looking at apples and apples there?
I don't have the sheet in front of me, I'm sorry.
Okay. I was just seeing if it was,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
So if we're talking the fund itself, it is completely funded by the departments. The expense side is fairly straightforward. It's all reimbursement to our ER&R or any third-party vendors that we're using to do the work on these vehicles. And then fuel are our main two expenses out of this fund. The revenues, of course, are going to be the departments paying into it and then the interest earnings we have on the reserves that we're holding.
yeah, I think this was, I was just seeing if I was getting the right line item. But you can, I'm sure you'll go over it
Yeah, I'm sorry.
another time. No, that's okay. You're just talking about process today.
Any questions, any more questions on the sheriff before we move on to everyone else?
So on the sheriff's office, what's the average life expectancy we get out of a vehicle?
Usually 5 years is our average.
So out of 47 vehicles, we're replacing between 6 and 10 a year.
This year or 2, next year we're expecting 6. In 2023, I believe we were 7. This year we were 4. We're really looking at every vehicle every year, looking at the mileage, looking at its history of repairs and what kind of condition it's in, trying to make them last as long as we can.
So do we ever basically do minor repairs or something to make them a spare vehicle and then rotate the worst spare vehicle out of the?
Yep, every year. So these 2 that are going to be rotating out for 26 that we approved, we'll put those, usually those will go into the spare if they're a good vehicle, if we, no significant repairs on them. And then the least roadworthy ones we have left, we'll usually rotate out. When we're looking at hand-me-downs, the ones that are not chosen for spares would most likely be hand-me-down to another department of some sort. If it's been a spare, it usually has had enough wear and tear on that it wouldn't be considered for a hand-me-down at that point.
So is 6 the magic number of spares that we're trying to keep?
Yeah, so that was a request previously, in prior years was 5. The sheriffs have seen a need for the 6th one, especially if they're doing a lot of warranty work that takes time to get parts back from the factory. It'll be sitting at the dealership for months at a time.
Okay. Thank you.
So other motor pool participants.
Very good.
We have about 70 vehicles through 15 departments. They range from small SUVs, large passenger vans, work trucks, specialty equipment. They are all done on a straight line depreciation. We recalculate those annually if we have any maintenance dollars that are not spent, if we do have large maintenance that we need to recoup. Depending on the department and their use cases, the maintenance charges range from $600 to $1,500 annually. The biggest cost on those is usually tires. Occasionally, there'll be someone, you get to your accidents that happen. One that stands out to me always was a vehicle was driving to a training somewhere. Metal sheet fell off the truck in front of them. And so those are the kind of the larger things we see happen that are not anticipated. My understanding is these are covered under insurance with a $5,000 deductible.
No,
No.
none of our vehicles are covered. Our vehicles are only covered if we cause liability damage to another property or vehicle.
Mm.
Yeah.
So once again, self-funded on these, so we'll tap into that insurance fund if we need.
Yep.
We don't see many collisions on this side. We do have some pretty good drivers around town here. One item that I did want to point out is that our ongoing concern is the age of our fleet and our mileage use. Our average vehicle is a 2016 and with about 50,000 miles. We to get the average, we have some that are higher, some that are lower. But there's a wide variety, and we're always encouraging the departments to look at their vehicle amounts and their use of them. I do want to call out the health department, tell them great job. The last 2 years, they've been looking at their vehicle usage. They got rid of one in 2025. They're looking at getting rid of another one in 2026 and seeing how they can skim that down and do better with the vehicles they have.
What percentage of those 70 vehicles are we actually using?
So department by department, the age and mileage will vary. My understanding is that they're all being used. Some of them, the effective rate of use may be lower than others. I'm gonna call out building and planning right here because she's in the room. She's got quite a few vehicles, but they are all in consistent use. We're seeing a lot of 2016 vehicles that have 90 to 120,000 miles on them. She's out there having her crew do inspections all the time. Some of the ones that are lower mileage are going to be more internal service-based ones. We have some vans that are from 2008 that have 8,000 miles on them.
Sean, how do you kind of determine the replacement on these? Is it a combination of department, or when they bring it into service to the motor pools, and motor pool look it through and say, hey, maybe we might want to think about moving this one?
It's a combination of everything, when we first bring in the vehicle, we start looking at that life, plan for that. As we get closer to the end of that lifespan, we'll contact the department and see how it's working for them. In 2021, we had a lot of enterprise vehicles come over. In 2016, the county made the choice to lease quite a few vehicles through the enterprise system. We bought out most of those vehicles in 2021. And so those are still in the service, and we started accumulating reserves on those more recently for replacement.
So tell me again, the van with only 8,000 miles on it's how old?
It is it's a 2012 van with 8,000 miles on it.
I wondered what justified buying that thing in the first place.
And we can connect where I don't know if I want to call it a bad department in public here.
8,000 miles in 13 years.
Paint it yellow, rent it out during school season.
There you go. We have a variety different of how they want to participate in the system. Some of them want us just to hold reserves. Some of us want to hold reserves and do maintenance. Some choose to do maintenance themselves through, maybe Jiffy Lube's the best option for them. Some people choose to run their fuel through the motor pool program. Some choose to use their P card. So, we have all kinds of different options available for the different departments.
So are specific vehicles assigned to specific departments, or do they rotate?
Yes, all the vehicles are assigned to specific departments and they keep them at their buildings. So for the admin building, you'll see a lot of white cars. This is where this photo's from on this one. A block over, you'll see a lot of white Escapes and a few Focuses over there.
So they drive their personal car in during the day, then they use this during the day and then drive their personal car?
Yeah, for county business,
Back.
yep.
Okay,
So we've got to have 2 parking spaces.
I know it,
Yeah.
makes you wonder a little bit.
Any other questions on everyone else at motor pool? So just what we anticipate for needs in the future, the 2 patrol vehicles were approved in previous meetings. We've ordered those. Hopefully we'll see those in service by June. For 2027, like we talked about, Sheriff, we review those annually with them. Currently, we're anticipating six new patrol vehicles. We're estimating $630,000 for those. For 2027, we're looking at parks to replace their 2011 3/4 ton diesel. This is their haul truck where they take their tractors and mowers to other parks around the county. It has about 200,000 miles on it right now, so they're really getting the work out of it. And then facilities has an older work truck, a 2006 half ton, and it's getting pretty worn out there, so we're looking to replace that as well. But we'll also come back in for the 2027 review and talk about those in more detail then.
Does this cover, or is like equipment for landfill or for public works and stuff is a different thing?
It will be
Yeah.
different, yeah. So all of our roads equipment will come through ER&R. And then the landfill maintains and operates their
It's all-
equipment separately, yeah.
We're not converting any of those cars over to bikes, right?
Come again?
We're not converting any cars over to bicycles with all these bike lanes.
I haven't had any requests for bicycles.
They're coming.
Electric
bikes,
electric scooters.
There's a past commissioner that might have liked that, but. Do we carry liability on like our excavators and stuff?
What was the- I don't know about that.
It's, I was just gonna tell Mike, you got insurance, so I can operate.
I want to watch.
They don't let me touch it either.
Hmm. Okay, then the next item that's on the cost allocation is our facilities. And so I wanted to highlight some of the items that are in the facilities cost allocation. Each building has their direct operational cost. They have repairs, they have utilities, they have janitorial, they have supplies, taxes, and fire protection are some of the major categories. In addition to that, we have property insurance that's allocated to every building based upon a square footage. Shelley and I are looking at, can we maybe do that by value of facility? I'm not sure, so we're going to evaluate that and talk about it. Because we do have value information on all of our buildings. So facilities also has, expenses that I would consider their normal overhead type expenses. Their uniforms, their cellular phones, their insurance for their shop, their IT allocation, and their industrial accident allocation, things like that. And their expenses are allocated to all of the buildings, but it's based upon the total direct operational cost of each building. So the buildings that are more expensive to operate, they'll pick up a bigger piece of the facilities overhead. So, for example, Hall of Justice. And then facilities also has labor, and we allocate the labor for all of facilities maintenance and staffing. And that's allocated on a proportionate share, also based upon the total direct operational cost. So the more expensive to operate buildings get a higher portion of the labor. And I think Sean, we talked about it at this point. If you had a good history with your work order system, we might be able to allocate labor based upon a work order system, but yeah,
We're not there yet. We're
We're
still
not
working
there.
towards that.
so. Next slide. So then there are buildings that have shared occupants, shared buildings. And so, on those buildings, we look at the total cost of that building and we calculate a price per square foot. And then, and I just wanted to note on Hall of Justice, when we're looking at the square foot, we do not include any of the areas that are not available for occupancy in the square footage in our calculation. But we calculate a square foot price, and then that's the square foot price that's multiplied by a particular department's square footage that they actually occupy. And that is how we determine the allocation to that department. For the district court, which is unique because their court space is also charged out to the cities as part of that allocation. And so district court square footage, we take their total cost of their square footage, and then we allocate that based upon the court cases to the cities. So the cities that have more court cases get a higher share of district court space. Right now, the portion that gets the highest allocation, of course, is the county, which is about 73%. So it's not a large number that's being allocated to the cities, but that's how we do it based upon the court cases. And then admin and annex is another building that has shared space, and we combine both of those square footage because a lot of I think their utilities too are shared. And so their expense is on the total of both of those buildings to come up with the square footage cost.
When you use the word shared, are you talking about common areas or like a bathroom that two departments use?
When we do occupancy, I think occupancy is based upon, it has none of the shared space when we're, for example, if we're determining how much to charge. Tracy's in the office, in the audience. So Tracy's square footage for building and planning is only based upon occupancy, not any of the shared space. So the shared, every bit of space though has expense. So everybody's sharing the total expense of that building, but only based upon the occupancy they have.
Occupancy based on the square footage doesn't matter if it's one person or 20 people in that space, it's just the square footage.
Right, it's just the square footage.
Okay.
So you arrive at a number that you need to set aside for a building, and then you divide up the square footage and they all get a piece of that. So then basically everybody's sharing in the shared space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Seems like a fair way to do it.
yeah.
And I don't know if Kathy's touched on this with the board before, but these allocations include no depreciation or reserve on the buildings.
Yeah.
So it's just the operational cost
The
of it.
operational
Just
costs.
operational cost. And then the years that there are repairs, if there's repairs on the building, I believe, so long as they're not capital renovations, things like that, they're not included in the cost allocation either. So the roof for this building that was done is not part of the cost allocation.
We take care of that of our capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a fund set for that. It's just not part of this allocation.
But it's not part of an operational cost.
Because there's no occupancy on the roof.
That we know.
That we know of.
Oh, I hope not.
We know.
Hope not.
We're gonna have to go look now.
See a little tent up there or something.
You need a camera? So. That's it. And facilities budget will be discussed when the rest of public service and public works comes.
All right.
Have we notified the departments that of some of the changes that we're making? Has everybody been notified?
Yes, what's interesting is we go ahead and calculate based upon the budget. And we calculate that at the beginning of, part of this budget, how much we're going to bill out potentially, so that we can record revenue and facilities. And that's based upon total budget. And then after, the year is closed, so for example, when 2025 is closed, approximately June of next year, of 2026, we would calculate the actuals, and that's what they actually get a bill for. Yeah, so we wait, and that way there's not a big lag between, between the cost and the billing, so. But I sent everyone, and I think we're going to continue to do that in the budget, that as soon as we calculate the cost allocation, the estimated, we send it to the departments so that they know, so that they can budget for it as an expense. We budget for it as revenue and facilities, and then they have a corresponding expense entry on their budgets.
So essentially, we're retro billing the previous year's numbers into the next year. Am I making sense? We're taking the information we got, the expenses and everything from 2025, and we're
Yeah.
billing that forward into 2026.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a lag, but they are paying for 2025's expense in 2026.
Okay.
Yep, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna have other departments, I think. Well, the next one up is Treasury at 2:30. She's not here yet.
Patience
You got
is a virtue.
Oh. Right, Treasury? Do you want Tracy to go?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I'm gonna move. Okay, and Susie's going to walk you through a few things. So.
Well, looking through yours, it didn't look that complicated. It looked pretty, yeah. Oh, there she is. Oops.
Oh, great.
I don't want hangry men here.
Wow.
You know, sweeten the deal here.
Is this the same one as before, or is
Yeah.
this additional?
Little
Okay. No, no, I'm good.
Just in case.
You're making me suspicious about what we're getting here.
I thought we were just gonna go over numbers.
She wants you eating candy so you can't ask questions.
Susie Moon, Finance Manager. So after the budget retreat, Kathy and I, we put together all of the suggestions that we got from the various departments and put together preliminary numbers based on departments' historical spending for 2023, 2024, compared that to what they budgeted in 2025, and then gave every department basically what we would budget for 2026, line by line. And we gave that information to all departments just as suggestions so they could keep those numbers in mind as they prepare their budgets for 2026. One of the recommendations that we had gotten out of the retreat was cutting like travel-related expenses by 50%. Tracy did a really good job and actually cut more than 50% for those lines. So she's going to go through her budget for 2026 and 2027.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. I just put together kind of the basic budget presentation for you. We have a very vanilla budget request. We're really status quo for the next 2 years. I have 4 funds that I manage downstairs: the Community Long Range Planning, the Boundary Review Board, GIS O&M. GIS, a person came into my office prior to me going down there, and the fund followed the program. And then our Building and Planning, which is the permitting fund. So of those 4 funds, I just broke down the professional services line. That's probably our biggest line that we pay out of besides the direct labor. And you can see that most of our stuff, we just split into, it depends on if it's permit related or if it's community-wide. Cowlitz 2 is one of our bigger vendors, and then our Acela permit system is the other one. The rest is just Townsend, West Coast, and Scrubmeyer. Those are the 2 agencies and businesses that we have in our back pocket if we get busy and we have to contract out our plan review. Those are those 2, and then the hearing examiner when we get applications in. So there's a little bit of money there. But for the most part, I mean, I cut about 75 to 80% out of my travel and training and all of the funds. We only have money sitting in there for the certifications that have to be recertified in either this next year or the following year for certain individuals. But for the most part, I mean, unless it's mandated by the state, we've taken everything out. I'm not requesting any new personnel. And in fact, I'm going to give up one of my code tech positions. It's not filled. We've had a hard time filling it, and it's sitting on the books. It counts against us as overhead. So I'm going to take that out of my budget. And if we happen to find an applicant or someone interested that has the certifications and the experience, I would come back and ask the board if we could fill it if we had that need. But for right now, we don't have that need. So we'll take that off the books. And we're not proposing any fees either. We'll just be status quo for the next year. We had talked about it originally, and I have enough cash balance, about $1.7 million we have invested, that if we get into desperate times and we don't get any permits in the door, I would use that cash balance to fund my staff. So I think we're, to me, flush for the next year and no requests that I have.
Tracy, do you have a succession program in building planning for if somebody suddenly decides to leave to another job or
We
different
do.
place?
We do. We have backup for pretty much every position in there except for Mike Wilson and I at this point.
I was going to ask who yours was.
Yep. I'm working on that. Yep. I did put in my, I did fill out an IT request in the budget packet for a Wi-Fi booster. And I don't know what the cost is of that. I kind of sprung it on IT before. We have, uh, our phones don't really work downstairs, even to send anything. People will see me walk out towards the parking lot, and then it'll go through. And then I come back in the office. If I attach something on the phone or anything, it doesn't go through. And since we're online paperless, it would be, I can't even say, I'd be over the moon if we could get a Wi-Fi booster downstairs or within the building, because we have contractors that have to do the same thing. Or they've started the application and then it's stuck in the middle and then they have to run outside to get stuff to send to us. It's not very practical. And with today's day and age and everybody's got everything on their phones, it'd be nice to have that ability downstairs. I know Noxious Weeds has problems with the first floor reception as well. And I know there's other spots in the building that are kind of
Is the whole
blocked out.
first floor like that, you think?
Most of it is, even in the deli area, nothing kind of around it, and you still really have to walk out, probably about 20 to 25 feet out of the building.
Yeah.
Have we ever had IT do an evaluation of the building for Wi-Fi reception in the whole building? I would think that'd be.
I don't know that
straightforward.
we,
I don't know.
at least the time I've been here.
I
we
did
never
put
have.
in a request to,
That's-
because that would be,
You did? I thought you
I
were
did.
going to. Okay.
no, I did. I did submit one. And I will gladly, when IT goes over their budget, I will come in and beg for that. I mean, it's for my customers, so it would be nice.
Yeah, big time. Okay.
Yeah, and environmental health, theirs is all online as well, so it would completely benefit them as well.
When did you?
Surprised we
put that in?
didn't hear about this a long time ago.
I know. Well,
You just kind of going along, aren't you?
we do, we limp along. We don't ask for things unless we really need them, but it is kind of the way business is going, so it would be nice. And like I said, I don't know how expensive that is, but
Is that what the Snickers was for? Was that asked right there?
no, just to be nice.
Boy, we've been in this building for so long. I wonder why somebody didn't say something before. Yeah, anyways,
We just, there's
we
things.
know
that-
about it now, so.
there's things that matter and things we just, we deal with things. We just
Yeah,
limp
I-
along.
I've seen you walking around. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
That's me.
Doing a commercial,
Yeah.
That's me.
trying to upgrade wagon wheels to rubber tires.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I have, unless you guys have questions for me.
If
I did
look-
present this to the BPAC, our advisory committee, and nobody even asked questions. We didn't have much heartburn, so.
If anything, BPAC was somewhat encouraging, or that if you needed new fees, they were saying that we had room to
Mhm.
grow them, because they were comparing them to Lewis County as much higher in some
A
areas.
lot higher.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know about, we'll just pick on Lewis County, is they don't have a landfill, so that they don't have 7.5 million that comes in their general fund. So I don't know if they try to make it up in other things, that I don't know.
I
But
don't
I do
know.
know that their fees are quite a bit more.
In 2008, we got our hands slapped pretty good. The permitting fees that came in the door had to go for permitting activity. That's when.
Okay, so
So in 2010, that money was completely separated and that was quite an ordeal back then. And that's when this
probably
enterprise
you're-
fund came
you're
about.
An enterprise fund, because it stays in
Yes.
your.
And that's why I've got the split right now. And as time's gone on, we have to make sure that the work that is being done is actually permit work. Like the comp plan is community-wide, so that is completely general fund work, but the other work is permitting.
The only
Yeah,
other thing I was
people
gonna
have
ask you,
that.
and I don't have a preference either way, I just hear about it at times. Some places, they charge an all-inclusive fee
Mhm.
versus individual fees for different things. What's your thoughts on that? I don't know what I have.
So
as
an
way-
an industrial project for multi-millions would be the same price as a.
No, they just,
Chair ramp, that would
they
be
just
tough.
like to have a grading permit fee and this fee and this fee, no long, and some will just say for $5,000 it gets you through this this many permits?
I'd be afraid that it would hurt
The smaller?
the smaller projects. Mhm.
Like I said, I don't have a preference one
That
or
would,
the other.
that would
I
be my
just-
biggest fear is, and those smaller projects are usually the homeowner, the mom and pop of the world that are doing it themselves. Where the construction company would pay more, be willing to pay more or a set fee. They're just gonna push it onto their customer anyways.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'll have to think about that again though. That was just my gut reaction.
Well,
Think about it.
I think you're probably pretty close. I didn't,
I don't know. I would worry about the smaller projects
yeah,
getting lumped into that, larger amount.
yeah. I could see that because some of those, I could go out and point some places, a couple
Mhm.
places where homeowners has tried to do their own and they're still sitting there
Yep.
2, 3 years later.
Yep, we limp those along.
Yeah.
The other thing I was just gonna say is, as we've taken on building or, private roads, we might try to streamline some of those permit fees and put them more into one. Not every one of the permit fees needs, or, for a private road needs an excavation and grading permit. But if they do, I think I want to try to combine, so they're not paying for separate fees, it's just a permit. I think it would be
A
a smoother
permit.
process on our end. I think it would be a smoother process on the internal side.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look into that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is going to be the treasurer.
No pressure, but the last person brought candy.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Deborah Gardner, Cowlitz County Treasurer. Here to talk about our budget. So I manage 3 different funds, the general fund, we have treasurer O&M and treasurer investment fund. The O&M fund is for foreclosures, so the foreclosure activity and any fees that are charged for personal property collections and any delinquent tax collections. And the investment fund is for the investment pool, and we have our participants that pay a fee to the pool, and that fee is collected to pay for the expenses of that fund. So it's strictly to pay the expenses from the fees that we collect. I don't have a lot in my budget to cut besides personnel. So I did, we came up with an idea to take one of our positions. Here's some candy. We're supposed to take it up there.
Trick or treat.
This, all right.
Now you started something.
I know it, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Trying to spike our blood sugar.
I know it.
So a couple ideas we had is we took a percentage of my salary and my chief deputy's salary, and because we do manage those other 2 funds as well, so we put a small percent that we are changing our cost combo codes for those. So working with Kathy, we were able to do that now because it's really not a budgeted, it's helping the general fund and it's just changing the combo codes. So we did that, and that saved a little bit. And then one of my employees, I will bring this back for personnel requests. I want to take one of my positions and change the job description to include part of the personal and foreclosure deputy's position to help, because anyway, I can tell you more about that, but if I get that job description changed, that will have to go through the whole process, then we can change the combo code for that position and pay 50% out of general fund and 50% out of treasurer's O&M.
Yeah,
And-
I saw that through here.
Yeah, and right now, when the front counter staff, when they have free time, they will help out with collections. And I kind of talked about this in the past, but when I came on as treasurer, we don't do personal property distraints. So if a personal property tax is delinquent, they're due April 30th. We're supposed to be out there on May 1st foreclosing on the personal property. And that was one of the things we've never done. And we're being more proactive in collecting the taxes, so we don't have to deal with that, because that's a nightmare to try to manage distraint on personal property. So when last year, Kaylee, my foreclosure deputy, when she took over the position, there were around 300 properties that were delinquent in personal property, and that's because they weren't really ever worked very hard. And that was some that even had multiple years delinquencies. And as of today, which we only had one left that had multiple years that were delinquent from prior year, that one paid today. So right now, we're just looking at 25 delinquencies, and we're down to 60 of them, I think.
Wow.
So we're just trying to be proactive up front, and then we don't have to deal with distraint. So
What's
You
the
were-
time period when it becomes delinquent to?
so we have personal property, which is different than the real property. The personal property is the equipment that the business owners own. It's supposed to be, they're due April 30th. It's supposed to be May 1st that we
So
distrain.
it's immediate.
Mm-hmm,
Wow.
yeah.
And I think you were explaining at one point in time, those are kind of difficult because if they go out of business, you go out there and nothing's there.
Yeah.
It's not like real estate where it's still there.
Yeah, and being more proactive, we're working closely with the assessor's office, and if businesses are closed or, we find out information, we're sharing it with them and trying to keep everything more up to date and current. So with that, if that gets approved in the personnel process in October, I had in here that it would, just with the other changes, I gotta get my glasses on. We're looking at saving the general fund around 43,000, and if this budget, this personnel request goes through, it'll be more like 89,000 to the general fund. And then I put 27 on here. The only difference for the 27 is there's the cost of living and the step increases and the additional IT fees those are gonna go up. And so the savings to next year will be a less. The second page, I had the narrative of the changes, and that was talking about those combo code changes that I was talking about. The other change is in 2025, our investment banking officer, her position is all the direct payroll comes out of general fund. We just do a transfers in from the treasurer investment fund to general fund in the amount of 65,000. Starting January 1 of 26, we're going to change that to that position's paid 50/50, 50% out of general fund and 50% out of the investment security fund or treasurer investment fund. So that will not really save the general fund a lot of money because we were doing that 65,000 transfers in. That's going to go away, but it will be a little bit more because of one of the other things that goes along with personnel is how the IT allocations are split out and all those other things. So it'll save a little bit there. I reduced the overtime by 1,000. We haven't used any overtime over the last couple years. And so I thought, well, we can reduce that 1,000. We had extra help payroll in there. It was only 1,020, but we don't ever use any extra help, so I reduced that. We reduced meals and lodging, mileage, tuition, travel type items by 33,750. One thing that I've been doing as well for a conference, and if I go to a conference and there's education on foreclosure and investments, I take that fee and divide it across my three funds because I'm there, representing all three of the funds and training for all of them.
Deborah, I want to go up to one of the bullet points with regards to IT charges. How would we justify IT charges into the investment fund?
Personnel, because the IT is taking the employees and how that allocation is divided up. Yeah. So, you have something to say to that?
Yeah, so each employee's provided a laptop, and that's part of the cost allocation for that. So if that employee is now paid out of a different fund, their associated laptop could be moved to that fund as well.
I see.
I did have an increase in here to postage, and I put in 1,000 for 26 and 1,000 for 27. I don't even know if that's enough because the postage
I know.
keeps going up.
Yeah, I know it.
And I think I read on the USPS that they have like a 10-year plan to every year there's going to be an increase.
10-year plan to keep raising it and still be insolvent.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they had some 10-year plan on there. I'm like, okay, so I have had to have a couple budget adjustments for postage because
Yeah.
it's been going up and we have to send out those statements. I did put a $1,000 increase into supplies because the cost of supplies seems to keep going up. We try to keep it down, but we put a little bit in there. And that last bullet point was just discussing, the difference from 26 to 27 because the only change there was the cost of living and step increases in the IT allocations. I didn't really put any revenue in here, information on that because I don't control the revenues in my treasurer's general fund. It's property taxes and leasehold tax, timber tax, interest and penalty, interest earnings. I did talk with Kathy and we did estimate an interest earning in there. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the Feds drop the rate a 1/4% today.
Drop it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said they're going to drop it again, hopefully in December. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
2 more
talking,
times.
their predictions were 2 more cuts this year and then 1 in 26.
Well,
So,
inflation stays down. That's usually what they use to control that. So it doesn't help us on the investment side. Maybe helps on the,
Cost of living
yeah,
increases.
well, and it helps on business investment side. So,
Yeah.
so you weigh it off, but
yeah. So I think we put a number in there that was conservative for interest earnings because it's hard to say exactly.
our portfolio, they built it around kind of a year, so it should hold pretty well for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done a good job.
Yeah, speaking of that, we need to renew that contract this by the end of the year. Yeah, so we'll talk about it at the finance committee and then I'll bring it to the board. So the treasurer's O&M fund, the expenditures in here are, the increases are going to be that difference of changing those combo code allocations to this fund. And then if that personnel request gets approved, there'll be additional expenditures in this fund due to that. The treasurer's O&M fund is a restricted fund. It was established under this RCW 8456-020, and it basically the direct costs arising from foreclosure and distraint and sale on real and personal property for delinquent taxes must be credited to the treasurer's own O&M fund. And then these funds are then available to the treasurer as a revolving fund to cover the costs arising from foreclosure and distraint on real property. Like I said, if the personnel requests are approved, additional portion of that position will be paid out of this fund. The treasurer's investment fund, the expenditures in there are just that we have the cost, the payroll for the half of the employee, we pay for our Simpro, which is our investment program. And the advisor is paid out of this fund. So the expenditure amount that we come up with is, we turn around for the revenue and estimate the percentage that we're going to charge the participants to raise enough funds to cover this.
Oh, I
And
see.
yeah, so then that amount will change every year depending on what our balance in the pool is, our portfolio, and how much the expenditure, and we'll just divide that out and get the percent, and that's what we charge the participants.
Do all of our municipalities participate in this with us?
Yes, anyone that we are the treasurer for, yes, everybody is in our pool. I mean, this is their only option.
So they don't have another option then?
Yeah.
Okay.
When we created the pool, before we had the pool, we were basically only investing in the LGIP, which, if it's a short term and it does follow the Fed funds rate. And right now it's been great, but at one point it was like 0.1. So creating the pool also allowed us to divide out the fees to all the participants. So even though we're paying for an advisor, the county's not just paying for that. All of the districts, all of us, anybody that I'm investing for gets
Yeah.
to share in those
How many
costs.
do you have? I know you have the cities, school districts. Right,
The
that-
cities, I'm not treasurer for. We collect their
Okay.
property taxes, but we just turn it over to them.
Okay.
But I added them up. We have about 150 different funds in there. And that's not like 150 different districts, but the school districts, have like 5 funds, and the port might have 3, or, they have different funds, their reserve fund or their debt service fund or their general fund. And so, yeah, we have fires and cemeteries and the ports and the schools and the diking districts and all of the county funds.
Does RIT, are they responsible for PIMCO? Is that what you said? The software that we use,
Simpro.
Simpro? Okay. Does RIT manage that, or do they have people that manage that for you?
Simpro is a program that we purchased, and we pay an annual fee for support and upgrades and all that. And as far as setting it up, and if we have any issues, Simpro will work with IT to take care of those things. So, the fee for Simpro gets paid out of the pool. So yes, that's the narrative on the investment pool. We created the pool in 23, so that was our first year. We started with 0 funds in there. And so we kind of, that transfer out that we were doing, instead of just charging the payroll to that fund, worked out because we didn't have cash in there to pay a monthly payroll fees. And we could do that transfer out at the end of the year. We have a little bit of cash flow in there now that we can change it over to the direct payroll where it hits on a monthly basis. And, but we will adjust that fee that we're charging so that we don't get a large amount in there. We'll just have enough to cover our expenses with a little bit of extra for cash flow. All right, that's all I have for these, this presentation. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
All right, I'll be back in October to talk more about that personnel change.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The last department is gonna be the museum. Is he online?
He has till 3:30. It's,
5 minutes away.
do you,
No, it's 5 to 3. That's till 3:30.
He's scheduled at 3:30. He's 35 minutes away.
Yeah, 35 minutes away, yeah.
his is
Go on, phone.
so small. Do you need Joseph?
We can proceed.
You want to try and proceed?
Yeah, that works.
I think his is pretty straightforward and
Yeah.
small.
You might be
We
better.
pay a little bit for over there, but the major thing is right out of the historical society and stuff. Funds a lot of that, so it's not even us.
Probably give him the courtesy of a shot at it and see where he's at. Might see if you can get a hold of him and
Yeah.
before we jump out of this, jump into this, whatever it is.
In case he had something he wanted to show us.
Yeah,
I was just-
I was just worried about those white gloves.
Not, I like Joseph.
Yeah.
Too.
You can enjoy a Snickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, two candies that I'm liking.
Sitting right in front of you, aren't you? Yeah. I know it.
Want me to eat those for you?
Commissioner Farrell didn't waste any time over here.
Hell no, I said trick or treat.
Helps it actually,
Helps your blood sugar.
not my appetite.
I'm working across the street and one of the guys over there, EMT by background, and he just shake his head looking at me going, you gotta be the most insulin resistant person I've ever seen with all that sugar you.
Because of the candy and stuff?
And real sugar Pepsi that I drink all the time and.
Yeah.
He's going, my God, have you ever checked your blood sugar? Well, my ex-wife, she was diabetic, so she was checking her blood sugar all the time. So I said, well, okay, I'll eat what you eat, check my blood pressure or my blood sugar. And so we checked my blood sugar when she checked hers before she ate, check it again after hers would go, and mine was just rock solid, just barely moved. It didn't matter what I ate. I could eat any damn thing under the sun. My blood sugar was just solid. Used to drive her crazy. No?
Joseph is getting on.
Yeah, he's there. Joseph.
You
Oh,
need
I
a
see you.
signature? But just come up and have it signed. You brought us candy. You can come up and have it signed. Yeah, that's fine. Is that grant one?
One that we passed, it's right underneath it, yeah. I put my name there.
Do you ever build into building and planning budget anything for enforcement fees, like for violations of stop work orders for the penalties that exist in the county code. Okay. Okay.
Least I can do, you know.
Maybe I should go get some more.
I still got
I
one.
was just thinking I have to go to Walmart and get a trick or treat bag.
Thank you.
Now she knows how to shut me up, huh? Stack the candy up in front of Commissioner Farrell. Yeah.
I told you those stairs would be hard.
So we should have them just start talking then.
Yeah.
So we have Joseph with the museum. They do not have any revenue, so there's no budget for revenue to go over. His presentation does highlight the areas that he did make cuts in, so I'll let him talk about those adjustments.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The budget reductions here are fairly simple. We have the minor equipment, that 22,000 is representative of the reader board project. I think we went over that a little bit on Monday. The meals and lodging, I worked on this with Suzette and came up with a reduction of 50% from 800 to 400. Tuition and registration reducing 50% from 600 to 300. The lease and rental equipment's for the photocopier, and that's, I think Suzette, you actually modified that slightly, I think, just to align with the current expenditures of $67. The interesting outlier here is the PUD was, in 2025, for some reason, was at 23,000, but we're looking closer at the 11,000. Expenses is what we're targeting for 26 and 27, barring any changes from utilities. And it looks like we have a $300 reduction also in Kelso utilities. And then eliminating the photocopy and printing and binding budget for a total of $36,050 reduction.
Just to back up slightly, I'm realizing we had made adjustments to this after we sent over the presentation. So he has referenced a couple lines that you guys aren't seeing, and that's related to the copier.
Oh, okay.
How do we get a $12,000 reduction in our PUD?
I know it.
Because
Yeah.
I want to use that for my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, why the drastic change for the PUD from 25 to 26? That's a hell of a drop.
So, yeah, that line was previously over budget, so like the number was too high originally. So Joseph and I looked at historically what we had paid in 2023 and 2024 and where we were through June of this year to come up with our budget of 11,000 for 2026 and 2027.
So that's basically closer to actuals.
Correct.
Okay.
And for your budget, Joseph, that's a pretty significant reduction.
Yeah, it is for the budget for the museum. It's significant.
Good job.
So you can do that at your house, just over budget by 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, over budget for a couple of years and then, oh, look at this. I know.
How much money I can
Look what I did, honey.
Girl math. Sales, I saved money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Life uses.
Don't take that at all.
Oh, yeah, HVAC. That was in 2021, I think. So we had a HVAC replacement in, we believe it was in 2021, that Kathy mentioned. Oh, Sean mentioned it. But I think that was covered by insurance. But energy consumption went down because we had a new system. So our HVAC system at the museum prior to 2021 was older than its life expectancy by many, many years. And then incidentally, the unit was stolen over the course of a week. Somebody came by, took one unit, and then they took the secondary unit, even though it was slated for replacement, but it had been stolen and it was a insurance claim. And then we had a new unit, and that might be part of why we see this reduction, because we have a much more efficient unit that's in there right now.
Yeah.
Somebody may bring those back after they realize how inefficient they are.
Yeah.
And we put it behind chain link, didn't we?
And we had the razor wire, that
Yeah, we got
coiled
the
razor
razor
wire
wire.
all around it. So we haven't had
Protected.
Somebody
any
did us,
problems.
somebody did us a favor so we could claim it on
Yeah.
insurance.
Mhm. That's-
God. Oh, Lord.
Here, this has nothing to do with your budget, but you said a lot of the transient stuff is kind of calmed down, but you
It-
still have some of it.
Yes, we still have some of it, but it has calmed down considerably, it seems, this year.
And because at one point in time, we were talking about fencing your whole place and we didn't.
That's correct. Yeah, we were
Would
discussing
really like to
fencing it,
stay
or,
there.
and you came up with the idea of putting the lighting in that seemed to work in some areas in downtown Longview. I think that lighting probably is a significant portion of the reduction that
Of the
we have.
reduction. Good.
We're still going to have some activity because there's kind of a sheltered area there by that back doorway, because the doorway is inset. And then the stairwell creates kind of a privacy area, as does by the front door. There's a retaining wall that creates a privacy area where people do their activities and things like that. But for the most part, 2025, we've had less incidences of having to clean up after messes or encampments. Also, the incidence of graffiti, although we still have it, I mean, there was times where I was putting a work order in 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times a week last year.
Just to
And I
clean
felt
up.
so bad when Josh from facilities would come by constantly to clean up all the graffiti. It came to the point where I just said, leave me a bottle of the cleanup solution and we'll try to wipe up whatever we can, because I didn't want to call them all the time to come out. And as soon as they cleaned it up, it would get tagged again a day or 2 later. So that hasn't been happening like how it has been before. So it's been a lot better in that whole campus area. But again, we still are going to always have some kind of undesired activity there.
Yeah.
But those lights are super bright. I mean, if you,
Well, I
especially
think that was,
as it's getting darker now, drive by the museum on your way home when it gets
that was
dark.
the idea of them planting the super bright. So
Mhm.
I'm glad it helps out. I think the next step, at one point, I know, I have a friend, he has automatic sprinklers to keep the deer out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
And one thing,
We put a motion detector on the light so that if somebody sits in there for more than 5 minutes, it turns into a strobe and starts blinking. right
Starts
now.
doing
It's driving
something, but-
Crazy.
but just the brightness has helped. So
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
and one thing along the lines of that too is the security that we have here has been very helpful. When I call the security to come, they're very responsive. Usually in a minute or 2, they're down there to check on things or make sure people need to move along. So having security here I'm sure it helps at this campus as well, but at our campus, and having a number I can call and directly get somebody who's really responsive has been very helpful. So I'm appreciative of security, but also facilities as well for their response to our needs.
Good. Good.
And there
Glad
he
to-
is. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's,
Oh.
see,
Thank you, Joel.
Good.
You didn't pay me to say that.
No.
I was hoping his boss was listening.
Well, I'm happy that that's working better there. I think that's I've said it before, I think your museum is a good asset for our area, and so.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's wonderful that we can have that in our community here. We're a county with a little over 110,000 people, and the programming that we do, especially the school programming, is it just enriches the experience for all of our local school kids to either bring historical education to the schools, or when we're fortunate enough to have school groups come to the museum to see the museum as an asset.
Yeah,
I'm
And-
anxious
and-
to see a new reader board.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be nice too.
It'll be nice to see the reader board too. I can't wait to get that going too.
And I'm glad that you team up and do some things with the Discovery.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was a good move for them too over there, and
Mhm.
we were able to help with, I don't know if you guys know that, but we were able to help with that a little bit too, get them
Mhm.
over.
Yeah, anything we can do to partner with other community organizations and with other county departments too. I've been working on something with Larry from the Department of Emergency Management on he does the disaster preparedness, but we live in a place that has had so many different natural disasters and other disasters that we can draw upon the historical perspective as well. So it's nice to be able to connect with other departments within the county on projects.
I don't think there's many other places that could say they had a volcano.
No, we're,
Yeah,
Not that I know of.
Mhm.
Hawaii?
yeah, yeah. Theirs is totally different.
Yeah.
Were you as disappointed as me? Because that's the only volcano I ever thought of. And when this was all going, before it's blowing, that's what I had in my mind. This is gonna ooze out, and I said, that's gonna be kind of cool. And, but Dixie Lee Ray's
Mhm.
knew different. She
Yeah.
said, that's a bomb, and she was right. I
Mhm.
always give her credit for that. She was right.
Mhm. Yeah, we get floods, fires, train wrecks, volcanoes,
Yeah.
everything.
You know,
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thanks, Joseph.
thanks, Joe.
And
Thanks for, we got you out early. Thank you.
oh, hey, it's early
Yeah.
for you, early for me. It works well for everybody.
Okay.
All right, have a good one. Take care.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
We're all good till next week. We go through another batch.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. We will adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.